Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so I'm here today with the 6 things that the Saturn in Aries / Saturn in the first house individual wishes they knew whenever they were 20. So the whole premises of this is that we're focusing on the Saturn return, okay? So the Saturn return happens around about the ages of 28 to 30 years old, around about that time. So this is really about this individual who is about 30 years old, looking back on their 20s and really just going through a lot of valuable lessons that they've learned through the years and how they've really matured and grown through the years, okay? And also I just want to highlight that if you have Saturn conjunct your Mars, and even Mars in the 10th house to an extent, I suggest watching this video, okay? Just for a heads up. So if you have any of those placements, I suggest watching. But you know what, come to think of it, even if you have a Capricorn rising, okay, if you have a Capricorn rising, it may also strongly resonate because of the whole Saturnian influence in the first house, okay? However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about your Saturn sign, your Saturn house, as well as your Capricorn house and your 10th house / your midheaven within your natal birth chart, then I have created a Capricorn season / archetype ebook. So what I am going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today if you would like. Alright, so with all those introductions out of the way, Saturn in Aries / Saturn in the first house, let's do this. Hi, my name is Aries and I am 30 years old. And these are the 6 things that I wish I knew at 20. The first thing I wish I knew at 20 is, well, I wish I was aware of my own self-assertion and courage. See, growing up I often felt pretty blocked when it came to my ability to assert myself and to be courageous. I would be the type of person who would often go along with the crowd instead of speaking up for myself or even standing up for myself against opposition or against others that I disagreed with. I used to actually think that disagreeing with somebody as a way to express my own opinion was maybe not a good idea because it would have created conflict, and conflict was just something that I really struggled to deal with when I was younger. I came across as pretty rigid, a little bit awkward, slightly stiff, and quite paralyzed in my position, as if I couldn't move a lot of the times. Especially if there was an emergency or there was something that required my attention urgently, I would just feel myself just swell up and not want to move. So in this way, I wish that my 20-year-old self knew more how to assert herself and to just take action and take charge of situations better. However, I would say that my father was a highly demanding man. He really did try to push me to the best of my ability. He taught me a lot of valuable lessons. He really wanted me to get a job really early on and learn about the process of working hard and what it meant to provide, what it meant to sustain my life for the long run. So when I was growing up, he would get me to do errands, he would sometimes take me to work with him. He would just teach me about having a strong and reliable work ethic. Back then, I didn't necessarily understand it. My father had a strong work ethic himself, and I did admire his tendency to push me. Though I will say that he was kind of hard to approach. A little bit unapproachable. He came across as quite stern, strict, a little bit cold sometimes. But over the years, I've learned that his father was this way towards him, and so I really accepted his own personality and how he acts. And I feel through that acceptance of letting go of control of what he does and how he acts, I have come to be more aware of my own actions. And besides, I know some people with this same placement that didn't even grow up with a father. So in that regard, I'm really very grateful that I did have a father figure in my life, someone to guide me, someone who did teach me a lot about respect, about integrity, about responsibility, even though there were struggles, even though I did struggle to live up to his expectations. And I guess that this leads me on to the second thing that I wish I knew when I was 20, and that is to do with me being more than capable at pursuing the things that I wanted or that I desired in life. I used to feel quite guilty growing up if I wasn't pursuing what my father wanted, especially when it came to being around about 18, 19, going into my early 20s. He would tell me, you need to get a job, you need to get a house, you need to find somebody who's substantial, somebody to settle down with, you must follow tradition. But then what I found out is that as I tried to push for these things myself, I was constantly being met with resistance. But then eventually what ended up happening is I let go. I let go of this constantly trying to force things that I thought I wanted in my life. And what I did is I actually tapped into the things that I truly, truly wanted to pursue for myself. I had to do a lot of self-reflection, look into my own sense of identity, and figure out the things that I wanted to achieve in life. And so I worked my ass off. I do still respect my father massively for him still pushing me, because oddly enough, being the age that I am now, I look back and I understand what my father was trying to tell me, because he knew the structures of society and how it functioned, how it operated, and he could only really go by the way he was raised, the way he was brought up, and the lessons that he had learned over the years. And when I think about it, he has longevity. He's lived longer on this earth than I have, and so he was much more mature in his position through his own experiences and what he'd been through. And come to think of it, he lived a much harder life than I have lived. I mean, his father was in the military and he fought in the war. So my grandfather passed on his lessons onto my father, and my father was just trying to repeat the same thing. And so I can see the value now in his lessons, but it was still myself that had to learn these lessons. The third thing I wish I knew when I was 20 is that no matter how much you want something, you must be willing to put in the work. No shortcuts. I used to think that I could take the easy route out sometimes. I had the tendency of expecting the results to come quicker than I would have liked. And also sometimes I would rely on my parents to bail me out of things, to help me get out of trouble. And even on that, I remember whenever I was starting my own company, so in my early 20s, I really wanted to start my own business. And I didn't really have a lot of resources, a lot of money to do that, to start it up. So I ended up going back to my family home to live with my parents. So they sheltered me for a little while. I realized how fortunate and how privileged in a way I was to be able to take a step back and live with my parents, because not a lot of people have the resources or the ability to do that. Still, during this process, I was so impatient. I didn't want to be living at home in my early 20s. I really didn't like it, but it had to be done. I had to think about the long haul. I had to develop and establish patience. So what I did is I worked really, really hard. I worked so hard and I put in a lot of time, a lot of hours into this new company, into this new business that I started. And now I'm 30 years old and it's successful. I'm able to sustain my life, to provide for myself through this business that I started. And so what I've come to learn is that anything at the beginning, anything at the starting stages, so anything new, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be daunting being at the very beginning and thinking, oh my gosh, I have such a long way to go. But then eventually you start to see the results. You start to reap the rewards. And then you realize that it's so worth it. It's so worth the wait. Even though the waiting process feels like a burden, it feels really hard, when you get there, whenever you sit back and you look at all that time that you put into something, all the effort, you realize a lot of valuable lessons in association with perseverance, not giving up, being mature, holding yourself accountable, being responsible. And not to mention, I was able to build a really strong foundation and bring value. And then from that, I was able to master my profession. And from doing so, I'm not only able to continue to build upon this company that I'm a part of, but I'm able to have an extra avenue of income that's there. It's on autopilot. The fourth thing I wish I knew when I was 20 is, well, I wish I knew how to hold myself really accountable for my mistakes and times that I messed up. Growing up, I often had the tendency of acting like a child if things didn't go my way or if I was accused of something. Even if I was guilty for messing up and it was my fault, I would sometimes put the blame onto other people. I used to think that nothing could have ever been my fault. I got really defensive, got really sensitive. I would act like I didn't care, even though I really did care. And I refused to let people see my vulnerabilities. I just really tried to act strong, but on the inside, I didn't necessarily feel strong, you know? I was full of excuses growing up. But over the years, I have really learned how to take responsibility. And what I did is I ended up joining a fitness class, and this taught me a lot about stamina, about commitment. I was able to build my physical strength, but also upon my mental strength as well. And come to think of it, from doing this, I learned from this process how to not take other people's comments so seriously, but at the same time, to take other people's comments in my stride. But you know what? Once I learned how to hold myself accountable for my actions and how to be more responsible in that way, I also started to hold other people accountable for their actions as well. So this in itself helped me build upon my own self-assertion too. The fifth thing that I wish I knew when I was 20 is what it meant to fully and completely be myself. I struggled so much with my own self-identity, with my own self-image for a lot of my life. And especially come my early 20s, a lot of this started to come to the forefront. Kids used to tease me in school about my name. So in a way, I really did feel very insecure over who I was and my own identity. I've heard of some people who've been told that their nose is too big or their head's too big. And other people I know with this placement have been told that they're too fast or they're too aggressive and they need to keep those things locked down. But what I've come to learn is that, well, by other people saying these things, it's other people projecting their own insecurities. So now I'm at a stage in my life where I am fully embracing who I am. I know some people with this placement who have got surgery. I know others who have went to therapy, counseling, but me, I ended up meeting someone so special who finally sees me. Somebody who has built me up, somebody who's been patient enough with me to break down my walls, someone who really showed me how to accept myself. But through meeting this person, I realized that that main work had to start with me addressing my own insecurities too. And the sixth and final thing that I wish I knew when I was 20 is that you are so much stronger than you think. Though I also wish that I realized that strength can come in many different forms as well. And from that, you know what? I also wish I knew just how independent I can be. I've really learned over the years how to become my #1 fan, how to be my own cheerleader. I learned how to courageously face my fears and really just become aware of my insecurities. But even on that note, I think I'm coming to understand that everybody can be insecure about something, that we're always gonna feel insecure about something, but that's okay. It's okay. And even though we can feel insecure, it doesn't mean that we can't use it. We can't move through it, push past that insecurity, and use it to our benefit ultimately. So yeah, I wish my 20-year-old self knew just how much stronger she was, and that she really did have what it took to cultivate her full potential. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes the 6 things that the Saturn in Aries / Saturn in the first house individual wishes they knew whenever they were 20 years old. Now, if you do happen to have any of these placements, and also if you have Capricorn rising, Mars conjunct Saturn, and also if you have Mars in the 10th house as well, then let us know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!